Well, good morning, everybody. It's David here with BeckerArt, and we're here to do a little demonstration of a ballerina this morning. And so this is going to be a little bit harder for you guys, I think, if you're going to be doing it and trying it for yourself. But it's at the end of the year, and so that's when we do the hard stuff. And then coming in the new year, we're going to getting easier again. So let's go right to our tabletop and get started here. And so it's pretty much of a really monochromatic image. But I was so it kind of is like a value study, right? Because look at as I was looking at this morning, I'm looking at it and I squint my eyes at it. Look at how dark the skin is, and that's because she's in shadow. And so I know a lot of times people don't take that into account. They just think, well, it's flesh tone, so we're gonna make it really light. But she's kind of backlit, and so there's like rim lighting on her, and so we're gonna go into that, and then our lights and darks is pretty much she is part of the dark, and so like her body, the only thing that her tutu, her dress is the light is part, and so basically I want to do that first because her legs and her hair and her hair is light too. Her hair and her dress are light, and her rim lighting and the floor and the sides is light. And so most of it is dark. And so then I got to think to myself, what kind of dark am I going to use? Am I going to use these gray colors? I kind of make it a little bit more colorful, and also want to make it look like it is like she's dancing, and so she's in movement. So I don't want to just do like an image that looks like this photograph. I want to make it look like it's wisping, and I'll do the background with that like that. I'll make it wispy, and I'll make it look like her arm is moving and give motion to it. And the way I have found out to do that would be to just take it and put like lines, like wisping lines, and don't make the arms such in detail. Like don't give them such hard edges. Do some sort of soft edges, like it's blurred. Like because if they're moving, maybe she's blurred. And I think that way it gives movement to it. I like to give movement into my paintings and not just make it look like a photograph. All right, so let's get started. And like I said, I always start with my lights first. And since I'm starting with my lights first, it's going to have to be the tutu. I mean, because that's the only thing that's light in her hair. I can do that too, a little bit of that. But when I go to do the large, mediums, and darks, and the floor is light on the bottom, right? And so that'll be next. So first, let me just do the tutu real quick. And so I'll take maybe a 1-inch brush, and I think my pattern of color, a lot of times ballerinas, and especially like it's a lot of pink involved, a lot of pastel colors. So I think I'll go with purple and yellow maybe. So let's just think about that. And boy, I have to fill up my palette. I just noticed my purple is kind of low, but we're going to go with that. So let me just wet the tutu. I'm using 300-pound Stonehenge Aqua 300-pound cold press. And it's not on a board or anything. And I'm just wetting the dress, the tutu. And because I want to be soft edge, and this is where my color will come in. It's not just going to be gray like it is there. And there's going to be some flesh tone by the leg right here. So maybe I do that first, put a little flesh by the flesh tone on her leg there a little bit. To make my flesh tones, I always use like pink and orange. Kind of a pink and orange. But now this is going to be in shadow, so I can make this a little bit darker. But first I'm starting with my light, so I can do that later. I guess I could do a little bit right now. Put a little bit of light red in that. It's called light red, but it's like a sepia tone. So let's put that in there. And these are my lights, but this is part of the tutu. And I never want to go into this once it's done. The tutu will be done when I'm finished with this light area, because that's what it is. It's light. I'm using a little lavender. And mixing it with this flesh tone color gives me a little gray anyway, so that's kind of nice. If you have questions, let me see who's here. I didn't even check to see if anybody's even watching. So, hey Karen, hey Sherry, thanks for watching. Good morning, good morning. Oh, I gotta get my first sip of coffee. Get it all prepared before Oh, nothing like that first cup of coffee. So there we go, and we're just gonna put this like lavender. And a little bit of that light red or pink and orange, and see that grays it up a little bit, and it'll all blend together too because it's all the same color scheme. And I can make this a little bit darker than I think. Always remember, if it looks right while it's wet, it's wrong, because it needs to. When it dries about 20% lighter. So Just keep that in mind all the time because it does get lighter when it dries. It's always harsh though when you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's too dark, and what if it doesn't dry lighter? But usually it does, and so take that into consideration at all times. That's probably one of the hardest things I teach is trying to get students to make it dark enough. They never make it dark enough, and then, it's just like you got to go back in the second time, and that's not a good thing, going back in the second time. And I can go right into the background because I want to go in the background, so that's going to be dark, right? So just take it right off the page. Take it right off here. This is really white. There's a little bit of this going there. So it's kind of detail in my white because I don't want to get it done later. I want to get it done now. Hey, Pat from Baltimore. I'm hoping to get back to, speaking of Baltimore, I'm hoping to get back to Easton in this next year. I'd love to do that work, or to do that plein air event again. That was so much fun. All right, so look at that. Just a little bit of lavender, a little bit of, excuse me, the orange and pink. This is called Brilliant Pink, and that's just permanent yellow orange. So that's a yellow orange, and I got a brilliant orange right there, which is more brilliant, but I don't need to use that because I don't want that bright and orange. Now here, there's a little bit of a hard edge right here, and just a little bit harder. So I take a little bit thicker paint, get rid of the water on my towel here, and then just bring it down just a little bit. Excuse me, a little bit darker. So it just gets a little hook, so it looks like the flesh tone right there. And then this is part of the leg. And then a little bit of violet here too. And here's a little hard edge right there too. And I'm going to get those hard edges right now with a little bit more paint, less water in my brush, almost make it pure pigment, and then just go in the wet wash. And you can make a line because you're not using any water. The water is just what you have on the palette, on your paper. See, I'm making lines. They're a little bit darker. I don't have any water in my brush, and so that way it's just using the water on the surface of the paper to make it soft. And again, by blurring this up, it makes it look like she's moving. Then there's this shadow back here. So I definitely want her to look like she's moving, like she is in motion. And to do that is blur it. And how do you blur things? Wet into wet, soft edges. All right, I think that's pretty much done. So there's that light. Now let's do the floor. And I'm gonna make the floor wet go right through her legs because her legs are darker than the floor. And that's where people and beginners always mess up, because what they're doing is they're thinking objects, and they're thinking that they should do the feet first and then they have to paint around it. How hard would it be to do, once you do the legs and the feet, to go and do the lights behind it? You have to go around everything, right? And so if I go through it, and the little bit of light that's on the edge, on the rim lighting, that I can either get by pulling it out, putting masking fluid down, or putting white paint like I usually do. I put white paint right there afterwards. So either way, there's 3 ways of doing the light afterwards. You can rub it, what do you call it, masking fluid, and white paint. All right, and so we're just gonna do that right now because I don't see any. And the lights back here in the background, that's the part when you're doing the background. You can just leave that part light. And so let's go and do like halfway up here, because this is gonna be darker. But I can keep that wet, and then I have to make a plan of how I'm going to go from there and go all the way around. So that'll be dry by then. So there's a little bit of a line here, and so what I'll do is I'll keep that to where it's lighter, and then I'll re-wet that once it's dry, so then I can go from one side to the other. Because if I can't jump back and forth, that's just too hard to do, jumping back and forth at one side of the paper, one on the other side of the paper. So I will do this bottom part first. So I'll again wet with my little bit bigger brush because I want to wet the whole bottom. So I'm just taking pure water, clean, pure water, and putting it down. I could put a color in there too. And like I said, I do want to go with like more of a yellowish, like a tan color. And so I can use this yellow ochre type of color. That'll mix in really well with the orange and purple. And so I'll just put that in there real quick. See, I'm just going over her legs. I can get the legs parts back. A little bit of All right, and I know this image has a lot of beige in it, but the beige is kind of like the darks are kind of a greenish, and I'm not going to do that, you know. So it's more going to be into the violet part, and so I'm going to use violets to get my darks. And violet has blue in it and it has red in it, right? So you can switch it to different ways, you know. Do you want more blue or more reddish violet? I'm putting these lines across it because it'll be like she's moving. And it's pretty light. I mean, it's really light right now what I'm putting on here. A little bit of violet. This is permanent violet, and this is lavender. And if you have never been with me, I use Holbein colors. And Holbein colors don't ever dry, so they stay nice and moist and fluid at all times by just re-wetting it and putting it right in. And all their paints are really good, really. I love all their paints. Now I put a little bit more of this yellow ochre color in there. This is actually yellow gray that Holbein has, but it's kind of close to yellow ochre. I just like it because it's not so yellow. It's just a little bit more grayish yellow, which is actually the exact name of the color, yellow gray. So see, you get a nice soft edge when you have the wetness in there, right? That's what I like. And look at this purple and the beige. Now there's some white over here. I'm gonna keep that white. And then there is also shadows of her on the floor, and I'm gonna do that right now because that way I use a little bit more paint. Again, make it thick. Don't put any water in your brush. Just get enough water in your brush so that you can pick up some of the pigment. Then put it down. And see how thick it is, and it's not running on my palette, so I know I have enough water here that I'm just going to take it, bring it across, and see how it's soft edge, but it's darker, and it'll look like the shadow coming off her foot. And make it a little bit darker right where it's starting to cast the shadow, and then as it goes away, it gets lighter, and then I can just use a little bit more of this purple, maybe even the lavender, and the beige, and I can just push that away like this. All right, and so that's pretty much what I'm going to use for the floor. That's done. You know, I don't have to, if I want to get crazy with it later on and maybe put like lines in it or something else, I can do that. But for the big area, that's a light area, right? The dress is light and this is light. And now we go to step number 2, which is the BeckerArt 3-step. And step number 2 would be the large mediums and the large darks. And that would be the whole background. And her actually too. So I could actually start with her, but that's not the big part. And so I'm going to, since the part of her is a little bit lighter, see that's the problem, is that part of her is a little bit lighter, so I should probably do her first too. You know, while this is drying, let's do her face, because it's either way. You could basically do it either way, because I'm gonna have to go around the arm anyways. Yeah, let's just do her now. So I'm going to take my round brush because I'm doing more drawing. And then make a plan, a map, how you're going to do it. You know, always in your head, make a map of how which direction you're going with it. And I think if I start down here, or maybe I should start with the hand and go in this direction. The thing is, when I go back and forth like this, so the arms are going to be simple. So I think I'll go from... Well, why don't we just go with her face and then go down, because that's the most important part, is her face. So we're just going to wet her face and her hair. All right, here we go. Let me get first a sip of coffee here. Cheers, guys. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Let's see. Okay. And I'm going to use, again, for my flesh tones, I use orange, brilliant orange this time, and some pink. And if you don't have a color pink, but you do have a red, make sure you have white in your palette, and that way you instantly make a pink. and that gives you a great flesh tone. So I'm going to wet it with pigment in my brush. I'm going to go right through here. I have pigment in my brush, and it's a lot of water, and so I'm just going to fill in all the dark mediums actually, because I'm going to first work with the medium parts. Now our dress, if I squint my eyes, not much difference between her dress and this. So what I can do is this is a medium. Just let it be wet. Wet it right now. Just wet it for the moment. And then there's a little bit. This is important that you get the light on the side of her face. So that I will do right now. I'll just get the side of her face. Keep that white. Then her eye against her nose, that's dark, but there's a little bit of light right there. So see the tip of my brush? It's very deep. Oh, I just went over her light on her forehead. Oh no, I didn't. That's the hair that's lit up, so that's good. And then this is a little bit lighter, dark eye sockets. And now I'm still just wetting it. I can put other colors in there. Right now I'm just taking a simple, easy color that's flesh tone. That overall is flesh tone. And then I will manipulate that flesh tone with different colors that once it's wet. Because then I can float my pigment with different colors. And the face is very small, so it's a little bit harder to do this than like a big portraiture. And you don't need that much change of value in color because it is such a small thing. And then her lips are a little bit darker, but that edge on her side of her face, that's the most important part. Her under her chin and her jaw is a little bit lighter. So see how it's just one basic color right now? And that's okay. It's okay to be one basic color right now. Her neck has a little white strip there, and so I just went around that. So make sure it's wet now. Now, watch this. I'm going to take a solid pink, maybe with a solid red, and do her cheeks, because her cheeks are more rosy, right? It's just, and since it's dark, since she's in shadow, make it almost like red, because this is dark. It has to be dark. She's in the shadow. It doesn't have to be like really dark unless she's a black woman. Then yeah, make it really dark. But she's a white woman, but she's in shadow. So make it like her cheeks red, and make it dark because she's in shadow. Again, know if it's in shadow. Know where the light is hitting. That's more important than anything. The values. Foreheads are usually more creamy, so I'll use more orange up there. And her hairline will be dark, but I'll put that in later. Right now I'm just worrying about the face. Ears also are a little bit redder and creamy. And then on the bottom, it's grayer. But then she has her little muscle in her neck right here. That's a little darker. Goes right into that little... I should know my anatomy, but... So here's the side of her chin. I mean her jaw. There's a little... Then her, let's see, this should be a little bit darker right here underneath her chin and her jawline. I know this is kind of doing detail, but it is my large area of middle tone. But since I'm doing the face, you got to make the face look right. So yes, you're doing like step 1, step 2, and step 3 all at once. But I've always said that sometimes that's the way it is. Sometimes you do all the steps together in one instant wash. Especially on the face, you don't want to script the face. And the face is a little bit important here, not totally important. I mean, it doesn't have to be totally like a portrait. Let's get some of their dark red hair, just to show. That way it'll be soft edge. Right here is this soft edge. I'm just using like a burnt sienna. And then just wisp it up in there again. If you're a little bit soft edge on this, that's fine because she's in motion. And I'm going to keep that to be a thing. I'm not painting a photograph. I'm painting a movement of this ballerina. If I'm just painting the photograph and just making it just like the photograph, then it'll look like the photograph, and it will not have any movement to it. because this is just subject matter that I took, you know, off the internet, and so it is royalty free. So if you want to use it and try it yourself, that's fine. All right, so there's her face. Now we're just going to go down her arms and down her body. And so again, lighter where it's like underneath her armpit right here. It's lighter, so maybe I'll start with her hand over here. So get a little bit more pinkish. That's lit up right here. Her hand is lit up a little bit. And I shouldn't try to go into the background because I want to get that white line. So, you know, that's me not using masking fluid or using white paint later. And I'm kind of making that hand a little blurry again. Why? Because again, I want it to look more movable, like it's moving. Wait, we didn't look for questions, guys. Oh, Merry Christmas, Pat. Hey, Maria. Good morning. So let's do a middle tone over her dress, and that way I can put another color over that. And really, look at how dark her arm and her neck are. I don't have it dark enough, but I don't want to go totally that dark. I don't need to go like quite as dark as the photograph. I have a cleavage right here, it's a little bit darker on this side. There's the morning train. Her collarbone. And yes, I am doing details, but you know, like I said, sometimes you do all three steps. Well, I got my step 1 done, so I'm doing step 2 and step 3 together. Step 2 is large, medium, and darks, and step 3 is details. So yes, I am doing both together. And look at how light it is underneath her arm because it's reflecting from the floor. So remember that color I used in the floor, that yellowish color? That's going to reflect into her flesh tone, so I'm going to put that down here and make that light. Keep that lighter because that's the way it is. It's reflecting from the floor up into the bottom part of her armpits. Now the dress can be whatever color, and put it right on top of that. It'll be a little bit light over here. It's a little bit more yellow, a little bit more burgundy. I mean, not burgundy. Beige I was thinking. A little bit more beige. And that's just taking like a yellow ochre and make it really light. Now watch this, I'm going to do a really dark brownish. Where's my... Oh, that's the color I don't have in here. I don't have... I put these colors on the side here are Daniel Smith. I just want to try their pigmented work on some of my work in my studio. But it's really granulated, so you got to watch out for that. It's really granulated, but I wanted to see what that's like to put a really granular color into my paintings. So I'll make it a little nice and dark there. Take a little bit of purple, mix it in with the burgundy color, or the terracotta kind of color, and make her right on her shoulder here. It's really dark. It's really dark on the edge here. And then her, like I said, her armpit is lit up, so I'm going to make this part dark. Let they come in here. And now it's drying, so once you get it dry, that means you're going to get hard edges. So re-wet a little bit. Got to re-wet it so that things stay soft edge yet. I can get the hard edges later. I can go back in and get hard edges. That's an easy thing, to get hard edges. It's the soft edges that I'm trying to teach all you guys to learn to work into wet wash and control your pigment enough so you can get edges, but just not quite as hard as if it's dry paper. See how dark this is? But I need it to be soft and flesh toned like, and so it's nice and dark. I know it looks almost too dark, but once I get the dark background in there, then they'll really light up the skirt and the tutu and the floor, because that's what's my dark, is she's part of the dark. And let's do this arm now. Let's go up this side. Really quickly put that dark there. Okay, now let's go to this side. Start out with your light parts of your
of the arm. I'm going to start with the light parts first. And I'm wetting it. Why am I wetting it? So I, again, get soft edges. I'm leaving a little bit of a line right next to my pencil line, so that'll be the rim lighting. It's not on the outside of it, it's on the inside of that line. If I do it on the outside, her arms will be very, very thick. So I do it on the inside of the arm. Yes, Pat, this is recorded and it'll be here forever, so you just keep on watching it anytime you want. All my videos are on YouTube and they're recorded and they're always online for you guys to use as much as you want and watch as much as you want. All for free. No need to pay anything. Now we got this arm again, darker on the top part. And I can make it a little bit more orange, you know, so it's not just brown. I don't want it to be like the photo, just simple single color. I like floating other colors in there. So maybe a little alizarin, maybe a little bit more red from her hair. You know, I always make my ladies redheads. And then, like, this is all soft edge. See, I got that hard edge there, so all I do is I take water, put water over it, and then it becomes soft edge. And actually, her wrist is a lot darker than, so I'll use purple with the orange to get kind of a brownish color. And her hand up here is the palm. And it's the right side here of the top part of her arm that's dark. And again, go darker than you think you should go because it's going to dry lighter. A little bit more color right there, orange. And then here it kind of goes again. Her underarm, her underarms, and both her underarms are lighter because it's reflecting from above, or from below, I mean. And if I didn't get it the first time, I can get it again, but I have to wait till it dries, and then I'll go back in and try to get it a second time by re-wetting the area. And let's go right into her dress. Actually, I shouldn't have done that because now I re-wet a damp area, and now I'm going to get a watermark. Oh well. And see how I talk about scrubbing out? Well, when you re-wet an area, you can just rub it a little bit, and it'll get rid of those hard edge lines. Now her dress, I'm going to make a little bit more violet in there again. I'll put a little violet and make it a little bit different from her flesh tone. I'll put a little bit of violet in there. Here's the strap, and I actually really do this when it's dry. That'll definitely get a definite look to it. So what do? I keep on going. You know, I'll come back in with a more harder edge when it's dry and get the difference between the dress and her flesh tone. Down here it gets a little bit darker. Little creases in her dress. Now, so that's done enough for that part. Now let's go down to her legs, get that done right away. And the background will be fun because the background is all going to be dark and just really wispy, and I'm going to, do all kinds of things to it to make it a movement. And so again, I wet all the one leg at a time, and I wet it up to the dress because the dress, above the dress is lighter because it's sheer. You're seeing the leg, but make it a little bit lighter on the right side down here. And I put pure pink there. And now there's a lot of water in my brush, and I'm going to just bring it down all the way through the slippers, the ballet slippers. That's all wet. It's all wet, and so now again go with thicker paint so that you can get it soft edged, but also get enough of a line to show a line in the water. There's her kneecap. And I'm trying to get the look of the muscle and her legs. The one side is light, and so it goes dark down the middle. It's more dark down the middle. Then when you get to her slipper, it's going to be again a different color. So I'll go again with that more orangey, the more yellowy, yellow ochre, and it's a little bit darker. And so I'll put a little of that and a little violet. See, I'm using basically the same colors for the whole thing right now, but it doesn't look so monochromatic because there's purple and there's orange, and so you're still getting that look, and that's kind of nice. Now here it's going to be a little bit darker. The slipper right there is lighter, but and then it's tied up. Looks like there's an X on the front to here, like there's an X. I'll negative paint that, make that really dark down here, especially on the left side. And if you don't know how it looks, make sure your drawing is really good and your drawing is right on, so that you don't have to worry about looking at the photo. You can see what you had drawn, and then just use your drawing on the paper, and then use that as your ability to paint it to make it look like what it is. Now this is on the side, and so I'm going to make a little bit light line on the edge again for the rim lighting. And again, make sure that you go inside the line, not outside the line or on the line, because then you'll have too thick a leg. And I know if I'm giving this to my students that they again would make this flesh tone way too light. Why? Is because you're thinking it's flesh tone with no shadow on it, and so you're just making flesh tone. But there's a big shadow on her. She is backlit basically, and so it's really dark flesh. And there's a really dark. It's a dark value. So always go for the value first, before anything else. Go for the value that you want, the right value. Color can be whatever if you have the values right. And you can be delicate with it and make a slight change in values, and that's fun. That's that's a neat thing to do with your wash, a wet and a wet wash. Like right in the bottom of her foot here, I'm going to make it a little bit lighter, so I'm pulling a little bit of the paint out. And I can also do the side of the leg maybe a little bit lighter, so I just add a little bit of water there and just kind of blend it into the dark part of the leg. And later on, if I need to have something lighter, I can also rub it out, scrub it out. That is a thing in watercolor. You don't have to get the lights right away. You can pull them out too. You can pull them out by bleeding it out, like blending it out, rubbing it out. And so I think I'm going to let that dry now. And now let's do the background. So like I said before, remember I said I'm going to start here and go around. I can do either way. I can go this way or I can go that way, but don't jump back and forth, because it's too hard to get. And right here it has to look the same, but I could maybe do this and that side. But when you get up here, just make sure this and this are the same. That's the only thing you gotta worry about. But you have a palette full of that color, so when you get in there, just make sure you use that color and get it right then and now. Just notice this all. See how this all bled light because it started drying, and so I'm just going to put this in real quick. Well, I have that color on my palette. And then it goes lighter. And then just re-wet the surface to get the soft edge. All right, so here we go. Let's get our bigger brush out again, and now let's have fun with the movement. I'm not going to make it so simple and just blurry like that, everything blurry. I'm just going to make it whooshy, if that's a word, whooshy. Okay, I do have to go dark right away, so I'm going to pull out some of my violet, because that's what I'm definitely going to be using, my violet. And I got to fill up some more violet here one day. You can also make that violet by like a dark blue and a alizarin. See that? Alizarin, and that's Prussian blue. Look at that's a pretty dark violet too. Maybe a little bit of red in there. I should have wet it first. Let me take my other brush. I'm gonna leave that alone right there. I'm gonna take my bigger brush and wet it around the skirt. Down to the legs, and now wet a little bit farther with the clear water. Wet a little bit farther than where you're going to paint, because then that will do nothing to it, but it'll be a soft edge right there. Now I'll take my dark color, and it's not going to just be one dark color. We'll have a lot of different colors in there once I get it down. Once it's wet, I'll be putting other colors in there and just seeing what I can get, what kind of wash I can get to make it look really cool. And let's take some of that that yellow ochre kind of color. Let's get that in there again. And that's wet, so I'm going to get a nice soft edge there. And then at the same time, I didn't wet it far enough. I could wet it farther. I can get some more of that background. Now I have to watch out, though, because I have to make it through by the leg and then just hope that I can get it again over here. Ah! Right, just in the corner. Watch your brush. This is just wetness. Okay, so let's do a little bit of that. Okay, I know what color it is. Keep yourself informed on what color you're using. I can also do some hard edges there too. That'd be kind of fun. A little bit more blue purple. Make it a little bit darker. How about even some black in there, purple? It kind of gets really dark right here. And like I said, I'm going to put some lines and stuff, some movable lines that look like there's movement happening. A whoosh of white light. And so I'll do that. Watch this. I'm going to take it and just take it back out again. Because I want this to look like it's moving. So I'm going to take it out and then just give it a little bit of light, like it's blurry. Now there's some lights up here. I can think of many different ways of doing that too. I can do like I did last week, where I take and rub it out later, or I can put it in around it. So do a light first and then do around it. And I'm wetting it as I go along. I'm not wetting the whole area right now in the specific time. I'm waiting, and I'm just going to do it little by little as I'm painting that area. And that way I can regulate the soft and hard edges. And now when I'm drawing, I like to draw with a more of a round brush, because I love the point, so I can get right on the edge. I mean, when you draw it, when you take so much time to draw it, and you want to make sure that when you're painting it, you also make it nice and detailed there. And it's really dark right here. And if I were in my studio without filming it, I would be changing the angle of my paper. But since I have a camera on it, I can't really move the paper. I want to keep it in one solid movement. Yeah, it's easier for me to make a line across than it is going up and down. And so that's how come the paper is loose and you can move it around. But it's not great for filming. When you're filming it, then moving it all around. And now, movement, movement, movement. And I love taking things out. Like, take your brush, rub everything out, make it just wet. Watch this, I'm just going to take it and rub it out. Pull it out so that you have like a little flip of... Rub it off. So you don't want to put paint in, you want to take paint out. So I'm just rubbing it out, and that way it gives it movement, right? It gives a blurriness to it. I can also do this later. I can also do it when it's dry. You can just rub it with a brush like that and just rub it dry while it's dry, because then it gives you the same effect. And I can also do it with paint later on. I can again do that with paint. Just I know it looks kind of weird right now that there's a bunch of lines just like she has wings, but it'll look good. I may even spatter a little bit, because you know how much I like spattering. I love spattering. Let's make this really dark up here. And now where the lights are, I'm going to have to maybe rub it out later. Alright. Put some thicker paint in here so that you get little swipes. Yeah, I'm going to rub out those lights later. And I know there's the two lights right there. I mean, if I do it now, I will not get a soft edge because I'm taking out the water. So I know a lot of people would like to take their paper towel to get a light. Like you can do that, but then you got to watch it the whole time. So I'll do one like that, show you. Like you take paper towel and just rub it like that. You get a little circle there. But then you got to put water in there because if I don't put water in there right away, it'll give you hard edges. So I got to put water there. You can also pull it out with your brush. You can also airbrush it in later with white paint too. Many different ways of doing things. I can also put white in the water right now. I can just put white right in there and watch it'll blur out. Because it's really wet, right? And when it's wet, you just blur it. And it's going to give you those little white marks. And that wasn't pure white. It was my white that was dirty in my palette. So get your bottle of white out, which I don't see right now. I'll have to find that later in a second. All right, now up here, we're going to start the hair. And we're going to go up here with a dark. And try to pick up the same dark that you use on this side, which I see is blue. So I'm going to use a little bit more blue on that side. With a little purple. And then I'm just going to get messy with the hair. I'm just going to make that messy. It's a little area too, so I don't have to be worried too much about being perfect there. And I'll do the detail stuff of the hair later. And down here too, I can work that a little bit later. I'll just make a little bit of dark here. And right next to her neck is really dark. And after I lost that white line that I was going to put there. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to put that in later with white paint. Alright, now that area I'm going to first do the face really dark. I'm dipping into all those colors so that I'm just making it nice dark. So here's the hair. I can wisp it more later. Getting the edge of the face. I can go right up to the line now. I can go right up to the line because I left that little white on the inside of the line. So I just wet that all now and then just put some lines in there for floatiness. And this is damp, so you're going to get watermarks, but I actually kind of like watermarks sometimes when you're doing this where it's really wet. And you want to show movement. So go right up to the line now. And go right up to my pencil line because I left a little bit on the inside of the pencil line. Then wet. Wet with your bigger brush. Don't wet with a small round brush. I'm just going to wet with the bigger brush. Go right up to the line because I left a little bit of that available, the white. The rim lighting I left on the inside of the line. Now wet with any color, doesn't matter what color I'm wetting with. I'm going to do the under part in a second, but well, let's wet it too right away. Let's get a little bit dark in here. And see how I mix the color afterwards, and I just mix it in there, and you can do spatter in there if you want. You can add salt to that if you want. That's a time when you get the look of the pattern that you want. What kind of background do you want? What kind of wash do you want? It's a big wash, and there's many different ways of doing a beautiful wash. Like I said, I can take stuff out, I can put stuff in, I can make really dark lines to make it look like that line maybe is coming over here and going like that. I want our arm to look like it's moving, so I'm giving it motion lines. take my little brush again, my round brush, to get down here, and use the same color in your palette that you've been using. And I'm wetting it as I go along again, because this now has to be wet. And then once it's wet, then I dump other colors in there from what's around. And you go back and forth. Right now this is wet, that's wet, so go from here and go up to here. I'm using a little orange there. Orange on this side. Whatever's on one side, make sure it's on the other. Color-wise, even value-wise too. Blur the fingers a little bit. Maybe go in there later, blur that too, because they don't have to be really hard edged because they're moving. Yeah, how light this side got. See, it's a lot of times if you don't put enough pigment down, you're not going to get it dark enough. You have to make it darker than you want it. So that's something, like I always say, work on. Work on using more pigment than you think you need. I mean, it's still in relation to everything else, it'd still be okay. You know, it's because it's still the darkest dark on that painting, so you're good there. Bigger brush again now, and re-wet that area. Wet the area with a lot of water. Kind of go to the line. Down here I'm going to get some clear water. And just take it across here, because that's not going to do anything. It's just going to make it a soft edge. And then I use that yellow again. Remember I used that yellow down here, the gray yellow. And so now I can't go here because that's all dry. So I'm just going to keep it going here a little bit. And if it dries and they look separate, then I can re-wet both sides at once and go back into that. I'm not sure why I didn't darken that part right there. That's weird. So let's get a little bit more purple. I noticed I didn't have purple on this side. Purple, purple. Make this really dark over here. That means I will have to make that side darker, but I'll do that later. Right now it's a little damp and not totally dry. Like this a little bit. See, that's a hard edge because I didn't wet it down here far enough. So wet that. Let's put a light mark, since there's one right there. Make one right here. Pulling that out. Drop some white paint in there to let it just bleed. Remember, I pulled some stuff out too with just a brush, and so I can do that on this side too. Same thing with their dress. This is the part you guys don't do because you're copying the photo, and the photo doesn't have that in there, and so you just have to, you know, trust yourself and try it, because then if you want movement, if you want to just make it look like a photograph, then just, you know, do what you see in the photograph. But I like to give it again, like I said, I like to give my things, like my musicians and my dancers, I like to give them movement. I don't want them to sit still like they're stiff. Now it also gives it soft edges, right? It gives some soft edges out of it. And all right, now I just have to wait for that to dry to get the really detailed stuff. And now let's just go into her hair. How close are we getting to the time done? Do you recommend using a big brush for the background since paper drying is a concern? Yeah, definitely use a bigger brush in the background. anytime I'm trying to wet an area, I definitely use the bigger brush. And then when I'm trying to draw, when I'm drawing, I'm going for the small brush because I got it. It's like more detailed, like right here. I want to get in there and get the small things, and I'm basically like drawing. Where the big brush, I'm just wetting it, and then in that, even with the color, when I'm doing the background, I can work with a big brush also with the color in it. And I will do some hard edges in the background too. Like here, look at this is starting to dry, so I'm just gonna wipe across that. So I'm kind of putting the light across it. All right, so what was I gonna do? Oh, the hair. So let's take my rigger brush or my small round, and now I'm gonna get the hairs, and I'll go with like a reddish pink. And we'll just kind of wisp the hairs in there where it's darker, and make lines. Make some lines, and I mean that's what hairs are they're lines. But you also want to think of the big areas like that are light and dark, and leave some of the white. Leave some of the white because it's so bright the hair that it's white. No matter what color hair she has. If the light's on it, that will turn it white. Over here, there's a lot of little lines. And then look for the bigger areas to like just scumble. I'm just scumbling it a little bit. What does that mean? No water, just taking almost a dry brush effect to get a texture. And then I can go in with a really dark with my final details, like for the eyelashes and the hair exactly. I can go in with a really dark color and hardly any water in your brush so that you just basically getting it really dark. Like here on the side of her face, so it gets really darker hair. I wisp it up a little bit. Here it gets really dark. It's almost dry brushing. Like I said, it is dry brushing because I don't have a lot of water in my brush, and I'm taking it and putting on pretty thick, but you don't need it too thick. I mean, you just need it to be able to get off your brush, and there's not much water, so it's not going to run anywhere. And then just lines. Take the tip of your brush, and that's how come you get nice brushes. You get a really fine tip on there, then you can make little hairs with the tips of your brush. Then inner ear is dark, so I'm just going to take the little hair on my brush and just draw that in. I can do the same with the white. I can just take white on my brush and get the white look in there too. Now let's take the same color and I'll do her eyebrows. Because all I have to do now is show the details of her face, and that's eyelashes that are dark, they're black. And so there's her eyelashes. And keep it simple. You're not doing a portrait. You're just, eyelashes go up here. The bottom of her nose is light, and so it's the side and top of her nose that is darker. Because underneath, it's lit up from underneath. Everything is lit up from underneath. So I'm going to take a little bit of on her upper lip. What I'll do is I'll make that a little bit darker. So I'll make her upper lip a little bit darker, and then it'll show underneath that her nose is lit up underneath. And of course her lips are a darker red, so. And then this goes on the side. And then her clavicle here. Her neck is actually very dark right here, so watch this. I'm going to make it dark right by her. Her ear is a little bit darker. And then let's give her some lipstick. Her upper lip is light, her bottom lip is dark. Because again, it's lit up from the bottom. And underneath that is also light. Now let's do a little bit on her slippers. Right where it starts, there's a little line right there. Then we've got the little bandage kind of a look, like the laces kind of thing. And there's like a little triangle, an X right there. Here's a little bit darker right here. A little darker on her leg here. And I'm gonna keep that leg. I'm gonna not go back into that leg. The whole top of her face should be a little bit darker too. I notice now because it's like it's almost shadowed right up here. So I'm just gonna go in there with a shadow. That will make the stuff that's underneath look lighter. And the front of her nose is darker. And then underneath her chin is darker. Now it's not your normal portrait because it's lit from the bottom, so your light source is a little bit different than if you're doing a portrait, how you light a portrait. And it really, you don't have to get that crazily detailed with it because it is so small. Just get it close. Now let's get her cleavage back. A little darker in the skin here. Let's get her dress a little bit more identified. There's a strap underneath. I'm just doing the shadow underneath the strap. You can also give it looks like it's a little textured, her outfit. There's like a little, it looks, there's like pattern in it. You can put that pattern in there a little if you want. So for that pattern, what I'll do is I'm gonna just kind of take my brush and poke it down. I'm not going to do a specific kind of pattern. I'm just going to give it a little texture. And now I can get the little fine stuff on the dress. The arm figure right there inside is a little bit darker. So now I'm getting the hard edges on the dress. The little parts that look a little bit harder edged. Because there are a lot of folds, right? And those can be hard edged, but don't make it dark. Still keep it light. I'm going to make it light with a light gray and a lavender. A little bit too dark. I don't want to get too dark with it. Again, I do, though, like I said, it's going to probably dry a little bit lighter anyway, so don't be afraid of the dark and making it darker than you think. And I'm showing through the silkiness of I'm making a little bit of the body, so you can see a little bit darker. Doing that with a purple and the pink. And there's a bunch of little lines, very fine lines right here. 1 minute. That's fine. I'm almost done. Like I said, I do want to do that. Watch this. I'm just going to put a dark right here, and then just wet it. Just wet it when you want a soft edge. It's not that hard. You can always go back into an areas. All you have to do is wet, and now boom, I got a dark there, right? Oh my God, her face looks terrible. Her cheek right here looks like she got a hit in the face. I'm just simplifying the shapes, and there we have it. One more dark right here, and it's 9:30. Perfect timing. All right, so there you have it. There's your ballerina, and see how it's moving? And I can also spatter it later on if I feel, but I'm probably not going to do that. I'll probably just leave it like this. Sometimes I work on it a little bit more, but this one I'm going to leave. I think it's pretty much done. Because after you spatter, well, let's spatter one last, and let's spatter a little bit of light over here, like a little bit of white, like gray. I do love spattering. I just cleaned up my screen too, and I'm going to have to redo the screen. A little bit of spatter, and if you don't like some of the spatter, take your paper towel, and just dab it like on her face. I don't need it, but out of here, it just gives it a nice look, like it's like, you know, scattered light. A bit more. Where is it? Right here. All right, there you have it. Thanks, guys. Come back for my... well, actually, this Thursday we're not going to have one, right? It's Christmas. So I may do one on... yeah, the following week. We'll do another one the following week. And so I'll meet you next Sunday, and we'll do another thing. All right? Thanks, guys. Have fun. Have a great Merry Christmas. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, have a happy holidays.